I got it fast. Oh, that's good.
Draw one.
Draw me.
Draw one, okay. David Henry! Right on and see if we can, and if it doesn't, we'll get you one to fit.
All right. I'm Bryan Ball. I run a BentRider Online. It's a website that's all about recumbents. We've got about 5,000 active members on the message board now, and about 50,000 readers that come and read the articles and stuff. Early on, I think too, I never missed an opportunity to stick my foot in my mouth. So that was kind of I was a young kid and didn't know what I was talking about. I remember one time I was at went to a bike show called CABDA in Chicago. They don't have it anymore. It was a trade show, and I got in, and they were just coming out with the Sun Easy One. So it was Easy Racers had sold the Sun design, licensed the Sun design, or one of their designs to Sun. So it's a very small company. Easy Racers, if you don't know, was run by Gardner Martin, who's an icon. He was a great old guy, and sadly he's passed away. But he was running Easy Racers still at the time. I never met him. Of course, I'd heard of him. I walked up to the Sun booth. They're showing the Sun Easy One for the first time, and I'm looking at the bike. Somebody came up and tapped me on the shoulder. And usually at the Sun booth, Sun's a huge company, and they usually bring in 18-year-old kids who don't know what they're talking about for the show. Then pay them very little money. And I'm looking at the bike, and some guy taps me on the shoulder, and I just looked like that. And he said, "Well, what do you think of it?" I assumed I didn't know who it was. And I just said, "Well, it's all right. I tried to ride it, and it doesn't really fit me that well." And basically said a lot that looked like crap. Said a lot of really bad things about the bike. And then I looked again, and I see his badge says Gardner Martin on it. And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I said that to him." And he laughed, and it was fine. He thought it was funny, and he wound. But I didn't dare speak to the man for like 3 or 4 months because I was young, and I thought I'd really pissed him off, and I didn't want to talk to him. So I didn't talk for like 3 or 4 months. Then he finally called me one day and said, "Well, everybody tells me I should be sending you a bike, this internet thing. I don't understand it. But do you want a bike?" I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." And he sent me a tour, easy to review, and we were really, the guy was like a father to me ever since. He was a great guy. In 2002, I published an editorial about trikes where I said that I was 100% certain they would never be more than 10 or 15% of the market. I was completely wrong. So, but to my credit, that's what everybody thought back then. The trike manufacturers thought back then they were only going to be 10 or 15% of the market. Right now, when I talk to dealers, trikes are selling on average about 3 to 1, most dealers. Entry-level recumbent sales for two-wheelers are gone.
You said Larry's down at the Hot Rally, right?
The Cat Trike Rally.
Cat Trike Rally. So if you got a chance to speak to him, what's the new Cat Trike that's coming out?
Well, I already know, and I don't think they're telling anybody for about an hour, but I'll go ahead and tell you.
Well, they're an hour ahead of us.
It's the new road. It's rear suspension. So I haven't seen it. He said it's really cool. I don't know. He wrote it yesterday. I believe that's what I was told it was. I don't know if they snuck something in the last minute.
Adjustable seat.
But yeah, it's adjustable seat, rear suspension.
Milton Cook! I can't read my writing. Milton!
I think we've got
All right, and he looks like an expert.
And it'll beat you! Yeah. Okay, and now, the Grand Poobah, Mike Librik, the owner of Easy Street.
So I'm supposed to give 2 lectures, really, one about technical topics and the other a kind of shamelessly commercial thing about things that you ought to buy. Any preference on what you'd like to hear first? The thing we're suggesting is that if you're going on like a group ride, a club ride or something, that you actually get on your bicycle and ride it around the parking lot before you set off into the wilds. So that if anything wasn't, take it through the gears, honk down on the brakes. All the kind of stuff that I do when we first build up a bike is kind of basic check stuff. But the ABC Quick Check was just a quick check to anything, the stuff that obviously goes wrong on a bike. And ABC was for air. You want to make sure that your tires are inflated. And I mean, yeah, your tires, as you know, will just deflate themselves over time. The little tiny air molecules will escape through the walls of the rim, just very slowly. But it doesn't have to go down very far before you're having to spend a lot more energy to move yourself around. So A is for air, B is for brakes. Obviously, you want the brakes to be tight enough. You don't want the brakes to be squeezable all the way to the grips. And then C, they keep changing C on me. It used to be the crankset, but nobody's cranksets really tend to work loose anymore. I think they've improved on those so much. But quick was for quick releases. Everybody here knows how to work their quick release levers. There is a right way and a wrong way to do a quick release lever. It's sort of hard to see. These things are so low. But the quick release has sort of a curve in it. And in this case, it's curving outward. They just shampooed this carpet too, I'll have you know. There goes my deposit. And so you walk by the bike rack, at your neighborhood college or somewhere where the kids are all riding their bikes, and you look at the quick releases and you can see if it's turned out like that, that's actually the open position. They've cranked it down wrong. The right way to close a quick release it's what's called a cam. You flip it over to tighten it down. And then in that case, in the closed position, it's swinging inward. And that's the correct way to do it, because this is a safety thing. It reminds me, there's someone else here, unless he's already given up and left. Tom, bring some of your wares up. So I found this guy who does custom frame painting.
So cool.
And so Tom, could you talk a little bit about how that's done, about the type of paints that you need to use and that kind of, and just sound like an expert for a few minutes?
I have about 10 minutes of expert.
All right.
So I started looking around to see what kind of paint I could use, and it turned out that pinstripers used to use something called lettering enamel, and it's still available. The formulation has changed. There's not lead in it anymore. There's hardly any cadmium. It's unfortunate. It's not as durable as it used to be, but it still works really well, and the pinstripers still use it. I've been experimenting with adding hardener to my paints. All of these have hardener that's been added to the paint. It gives it some extra shine, and the reason for that is because I plan on being able to shoot a urethane two-part covering over the frames. But this is the ultimate bling. And this is the kind of thing that you can do if you just want to have that extra level of coolness.
By the way, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love them. Just love them.
You could do decals for that, but you would have to find somebody that understood how to set up the CAD cut for doing a round design. I spent a couple of hours drawing those out, figuring out what my dimensions would be to get my lettering to wrap around.
So if any of you want to have custom rims painted or a custom frame done, I'm sure it will cost you oodles of money, but someone can do it. Those rims actually weren't all that much. I mean, I actually got those rims for Jane because Jane does so much for me, and I know what she likes, so it worked out. And I mean, it was for the amount of work I get out of Jane, it's not really all that much to spend, actually. I mean, I know what employees cost, and they're really not cheap. So keep it in mind, it can be done. You'd probably just I'd probably just put you in touch with Thomas, but suffice to say, it can be done. And on these trikes, again, you've got no rim brakes on it. You've got no brake on the rear, disc brakes on the front. And in fact, the wheels are so exposed on the front, it seems like it's an ideal place to do that kind of custom work.
We're letting you sleep in tomorrow. The ride starts at 10. They're going to have coffee here for you in the morning when you're ready. The ride is to the Capitol and back.